Hi everyone. So in this lecture I would be covering the topic decision analysis. So basically decision analysis is a structured approach towards decision making. So if you're working on any kind of project or any process, you may be a team leader, project manager, you might be a business owner, or you might be running your own business. So you would often find yourself in a situation where you have to take important or crucial business decisions. And when I'm talking about business decisions, this means they involve resources, they involve money, they involve a lot of other manpower and other important resources. So you cannot take decisions based only on intuition, or I must say that you shouldn't be taking decisions based on intuition. And this means that the decisions should be based on fact, data, they should be structured and should be scientific. So this approach, decision analysis, is your way of doing business, because it will help you to take decisions which would bring you greater benefits and to take you wise and able business decisions. So when I'm talking about decision analysis, I would be covering this concept in three parts, and the first one is overview of decision analysis. Second one is decision process flow chart, and I would be summing it up with decision tree diagram. So the first one is clear, that I am going to give you a brief overview of what is decision analysis, so you have an understanding of this concept. And these tools are basically the tools with which we make decision analysis, right. So I am going to start up with a series where I am going to talk about various Six Sigma tools. There are like 200 or more tools, and when we talk about Six Sigma tools, they are not numbered in any particular order that this is 1, 2, 3, or we are not just, there is no such rule that we cannot use this tool first and we have to use only this tool in the last. So I would be taking up all these tools randomly. They can be statistical tools, they can be non-statistical tools, but my major objective would be to give you complete information of any tool I take up. That is, where it should be used, what kind of process it should be used, what are the other tools associated with and other tools associated with it, and other benefits of that tool, and whatever information is required so that you can successfully implement that tool, right. So these two tools would be the first in this series, that is decision process flow chart and decision tree diagram. So coming back to decision analysis, or an overview of decision analysis, I would like to give you an example so that you understand this concept, right. So sometime back in state of Massachusetts, US, they had a problem. The problem was high fatality rate due to ice buildup on the roads, right. So this was their problem, and the State Department had to figure out the ways to reduce this ice buildup so that this fatality rate could be brought down, right. So if I have to just give you an example, if I have to just show you how they did that, was the first problem was which they had to tackle was to reduce ice buildup on roads in winter season, right, because due to this ice buildup there was a high fatality rate. Now since I told you that decision analysis is a structured way, they cannot take random decisions, plus they are taking certain decisions which have an impact on a very large amount of population, on their health and their life, right. So they have to take a very structured decisions which are backed by data, which are backed by facts. So after like lot of conclusion, they just thought of that they can reduce this ice buildup by adding lot of salt to the roads, because when we add lot of salt, that just does not allows ice to build up. So they decided to tackle this problem by adding salt on the roads, right. again, now this was not a final decision, you know, because they had to think that whether it was safe or not, because they were actually doing something which had its impact on the life and health of the people. So when they just started to analyze their this solution, they found out when very critical information about this thing was that when they will be adding such a large amount of salt on the roads, that will lead to high sodium content in drinking water, and this would lead to higher health heart related issues, heart related problems. So they found out after analysis that if they added lot of salt, that would lead to high sodium content in drinking water, which will further lead to higher heart related problems. So now they had to figure out, again they were at a point, now first they found out a solution, but again now they are at a point where they have to take a further decision, and that decision is to salt the roads or not to salt. Now this is not one man's decision, they cannot take it randomly that whether we should go ahead or not. So they had did their analysis. So this analysis done using these two tools which we are going to discuss, but now right now I am just going to give you an overview. So after the analysis they found out that if we now you know that whenever we take any decision and when we take any action, it would have an outcome and there is a probability of that outcome. For example, if I say that I would like to go ahead with this decision A, and that decision would have an outcome and there would be a probability associated with it, and this probability is in percentage, right, and this probability is basically an educated guess, basically you can say, which is backed by past data, facts or some advice by the experts in that particular field. So they decided to, if they thought that how they will analyze this situation. So if they just went ahead with this decision to salt, then we can say that probably two things can happen. The first is that fertility rate would come down, and the second probability or the second outcome can be higher heart related issues, heart related health issues, right. So they will have a certain, they will find out what is the probability of each. For example, now I can say that there was X percentage of probability of this happening and Y percent probability of this happening. And then we can go to another thing, that if they do not salt the roads, what would happen? That would be that the fertility rate would be same, or if the weather conditions worsen, it can also go higher. Now again there would be a probability associated to both these decisions, right, and this probability now they can have for this they can take help from the health officers who can tell them that what's the actual number of heart patients which come to them in normal summer season, and what is the data for the people who come with heart related problems in the winter season, or what is the fertility rate, and what is the fertility rate which is actually happening due to this ice blockage, or it may be due to certain fog may be the reason, or other things associated with it. So basically what I am trying to tell you, why I have given you this example, is that you should understand that by using this technique, decision analysis, what we are doing, what we are trying to do is that we are trying to take a problem, we are trying to figure out what are the various outcomes, and then we are trying to figure out what are the probabilities of their occurrence, and on basis of all this then we have to take one decision which will be beneficial for the overall health and safety of the people of this state. right? So same way, if you take such structured decisions in your business, this technique would really help you to find out that one particular decision would be beneficial for your plan, beneficial for your business. Now decision analysis is used for various things, like if you want to launch a new product, then you can just go ahead with this technique of decision analysis and figure out that whether it's a good time to launch, whether it would be a profitable thing or not. If you just want to make certain new changes in your software, you can just get ahead with this technique and figure out what is the probability of your succeeding in that thing. So right, then the chances, then the risk of going for a failure just gets down to a percentage which is negligible, because then you're talking then you're taking your decisions based on certain kind of facts and data, and usually these techniques do not falter you. So now that you have a brief idea of what is decision analysis with the example I just gave you, I would like to move forward and discuss with you the various components of decision analysis. So there are basically 6 components which I would like to share with you, and these are, if we are talking about decision analysis, then its components are actions, chance occurrences, probability, final outcome, additional information, and finally decisions. So let's try and understand each of these components. So the first one is action. Now action is any step we take to reach our final outcome. So in the case, the example which I chose, then the action was to solve the roads to reduce the ice buildup, right? So that's an action, that is whatever steps we take to reach our goal. And the chance occurrences, now what are these chance occurrences? So now the chance occurrences are the random occurrences which are not under our control. For example, these can be anything such as environmental factors, machine factors, human factors. Like here, when I say that we will just solve the roads to reduce the ice buildup, so the chance occurrences can be that this cannot be a very effective method because the environment is too cold for this thing to work, or it can say that it can lead to higher risk of heart diseases and so and so. So these are all the chance occurrences, and these are not under our control, right? And then we talk about probabilities. Now these probabilities, a belief that certain fact is true, and this is always given in percentages. That is, if I take this action, what is the probability, what is the percentage that if I take X as an action, what is the probability that Y will be the outcome? So right, so this is basically given in percentages, and it's a belief that our certain action is true or the certain information is true or not. So now that we have taken our action and it leads to chance occurrences play their role and we have a probability, then there is this final outcome, right? So basically we can say this leads to this plays its role, and then we lead to final outcome. Now this final outcome can be a payoff or a reward in case we are successful, or else it's a loss. Right. So now when this final outcome is viewed as a payoff, now this payoff is usually calculated in monetary terms, not in the case of our example, but usually in most of the projects, this payoff is calculated in terms of monetary terms, and basically it is a benefit which we are trying to achieve, and it is also known as utility. Now this is a very important thing because this is the utility in which a decision maker is interested in. So this is what he wants to achieve, that is utility out of his actions, right? So now that we have reached a final decision, so why these two? Now let's come to additional information. So what is additional information? Now as I have told you that whenever we take any action, there are chance occurrences which play their role. Now these chance occurrences are not always subtle, sometimes they are very strong, and when they are strong, this means they will lead to lot of variation. So now this is the variation in which the project managers are not at all interested. They want to keep it under control, they want to keep it under checks, and they do not want it to increase, right? So they are, if I can say that they are scared of this variation. And these chance occurrences lead to this variation. So when we say there is a variation, a good project manager or a process manager or a process owner is the one who gets enough information, who collects all kinds of information so that he can keep check on this variation. If he cannot control it, he can prepare himself so that he can take certain alternative actions, right? So this additional, so for that he would need lots of information, and this additional information can be in form of certain data, some facts, or from somebody else who has conducted same kind of process or experiment. So the whatever observations they have, those records, historical data, or an advice from an experts, right? So when I talk about additional information, so this additional information is not always freely available, and sometimes we also have to pay to get this additional information. So when I say we need to purchase this additional information, it's not that you're giving few dollars to somebody and get certain pieces of paper of information. No, it's not like that. For that, maybe you have to hire certain kind of experts who are not working in your company, like outside experts whom you hire, and they come and tell you, and they come and guide you or give their advice. So you have to pay for their services, or you can just be getting certain kind of additional, you can carry out certain surveys, or you can just carry out certain sampling things, so that you can just collect all the additional information. So my purpose of telling you that sometimes we need to pay for this additional information is that whenever you have so this additional information, and when whatever you pay for this is calculated as investment, is known as investment, and whatever your final benefit or payoff is, you have to deduct the price of the whatever you have paid for this additional information from that payoff. Only then you can calculate your benefit, right? So this is what I have to tell you about additional information. And then coming to decisions. Now decisions are an actions or set of actions you take to reach your final outcome, right? So these decisions, if taken on the basis of decision analysis, they can really maximize your benefits. So these decisions can either be action or a set of action which finally lead to payoff, or they can even lead to another decision point where you again have to take a decision. Okay, I explained you. For example, I am a product manager, and my product is ready, and I have lab tested it, and I just then market it, right? So this means I have just my decision to market it has just got in for final payoff. That it would be successful or not successful, that's another story, but my decision was to market it off. It did not lead to any other decision point. It was like my decision to final payoff. But in case my product is ready, but my seniors asked me to go for market testing. So now what would happen? My decision to market it has led to another decision, that is to market it, right? Test it, go for market testing. And when I will go for market testing, this means it has led to another decision that would be based on whether it has been successful, the market testing has been successful or not, and that is a different story. So right, basically the moral of this complete story is that decision analysis is a process which would give you complete information you need to know, you need to proceed at any given stage or circumstances. So now that you have an idea of what is decision analysis, so let's proceed and look at the tools which are used in this process. And the first one is decision process flow chart, and it's also known as a decision model or a logic diagram, right? So ideally it's a decision making tool, that's very obvious. So if I have to tell you about decision process flow chart, so this is a tool that greatly assists managers and teams at arriving at better decisions. How? Because in this process of decision process flow chart, all the potential alternatives or all the possible alternatives are branched in a very logical format, something like this. And then the decision makers have a complete view of all the potential outcomes of any decision they have to take. So in this way they can reach to better decisions. So now let's see where to apply this tool. Now this tool can be applied in the define phase, that is if you have to in this define phase of Six Sigma, where there can be chances that you have to choose between two different projects or two critical issues. Then you can apply it where logical approach has to be used in search for best action, to improve decision making process, to identify critical path. Now critical path is that path which is the longest path of any process, and to identify high priority issues, right. So when we are talking about any tool, it's very important to understand which are the associated tools, and in this section I have divided those tools as before and after. Now there is no fixed thing that you can only use these tools before and after, but this is how they are generally used, so I am taking them this way. So the first tool, let's taking up the first tool, that is which is used before this decision process flow chart, is an influence diagram, and influence diagram and decision trees are usually used together. So influence diagram is basically the summary of all the variables which are used to reach at any point or any decision, and this influence diagram also gives you information about the influence each variable has on another. For example, if you have to decide on the marketing cost of some product, so using the influence diagram you will find out what are the other variables which are influenced by one decision. For example, your marketing a product will depend upon the market size, the population size, the price per unit of a product, etc. and etc. So it looks something like this. So basically it gives you the how each variable is influencing the another variable. Decision tree we are going to do in some time, and then comes information need analysis. So this is a tool which is used to get information about any process or any decision to make a strategic decision, right. So this is usually used in the business cases to come to strategic decisions or to reach the business goals. Then the process mapping. Mapping is basically the pictorial overview of complete process from start to finish, and if the process map is very detailed, it will also tell you the time that what each step is taking and all those things associated with it. Consensus decision making is again a group technique where different members sit together and reach to a final decision after analyzing all the pros and cons. Coming to the after tools, the first one is activity analysis. Now, when I say the word activity, basically it is just a few skills which are working together. Now, these skills can be physical, psychological, cognitive, anything. So, activity analysis is basically the analysis of all these skills which are working together, and this is what activity analysis does. Then coming to the second tool, that is action plan. Now action plan is a documented approach, that is you document all the steps you take to reach to your final goal. And when you are documenting all the steps, you are also adding information about the resources required for that particular step, plus the time that would be taken up for that particular step, right. So in this way you will have a very detailed information of all the steps you take to reach your final goal. Cost of quality. Now cost of quality is the cost you just pay to fix up for all the defects or the rework. And then comes cost benefit analysis. Okay, this is also another tool which is quite often used in define phase of Six Sigma. So basically using this tool, the managers or the project managers decide whether they should go ahead with certain kind of investments or they can go ahead with a decision or not. For example, if you are making certain product and in a peak period the demand is more than supply, so one alternative is that you can just buy more machines so that you can fulfill the demand, but you know buying the machine will you will have to make some investment, and this can be a heavy investment. So by using this technique of cost benefit analysis, the decision makers try to find out that whether these investment would be profitable or not. Then comes potential problem analysis. Now potential problem analysis is a tool which is used to find out what can go wrong with your project so that you can figure out ways to control that. So after having the information of associated tools, let's look at all the varied fields where you can use this tool, right. So since it's a decision making, and I've already told you that whatever you are doing, you will find yourself in a place where you have to take decisions. So this tool is used in research and statistics, in R&D departments, in project management, change management. It is used in support services like customer support services, sales, administration. So there are many fields where you can use this tool. Now that you have an overview of decision process flow chart, so let's just get ahead and understand its application. Right, for this you need to have a whiteboard in the room, and then you have to make sure that all team members are aware of how to utilize this tool, right. So it's always better to give them an overview of how to use this tool. Then the first step is that you and your team have to find out one major issue or topic on which you need to take a decision. And here in this case, in this example I am using, it is, should engineering assistants attend marketing workshops, right. So this is the first step. And then the second step would be that your team would list the questions which would be used as decision points in this flow, right. So here I have used 3 questions. The first one is marketing training considered in career planning? The second one is marketing training required for promotion? And the third one is marketing training available inside the company itself, right. So using these questions we would reach to a final decision. So here I have to give you one suggestion, that whenever you are choosing these questions, always try to keep the number to 5 or less than 5. You can take more than 5, but actually it will just complicate the complete process. So it's always better to keep it to 5 or less. And the second important advice I need to give you is that your answer to these questions should not be ambiguous, like maybe or something like that. It should either be yes or no. And all these questions are part of your analysis. This is how you analyze your process, and this analysis is different for all the companies. It can be different, and all the projects is different. So here I am not going into analysis part. So this is your job. So when you're choosing, whenever you're choosing any question, you have to see that whether it's relevant or not. So this is the third step. You have to check the relevancy of these questions, because sometimes we just get to certain irrelevant questions which are not important in our decision making. So you should just revise your questions and check their relevancy, right. So now coming to the application. So now this is a major question, that whether marketing training should engineering assistants go in for marketing training or not. So this is our question. So how we would go ahead with this process. So now we will come to a first decision point, and that is marketing training considered in career planning? Now the answer to this question can either be yes or no. So it would be something like that, yes or no. So first I am going to take the yes part, because then it would be easier to you to understand. So if it is yes, this means we have come to a decision point where we have to take second decision, that is marketing training required for promotion? Then again the answer to this thing has to be in yes or no. So first I would be taking up the yes part. Now this has led to our third decision point, which is marketing training available in the company, right. So this is what we have get. Now the answer can be yes or it can be no. Now this will lead to our possible decisions, right. If the marketing training is considered in career planning and it is required in the promotions and it is available in the company, this means it is high priority. You should enroll it right away. Enroll in this training right away. But if the answer to this is no, to this particular question, that is marketing training available in the company, it's no, then this means you should just find out ASAP from where you can get this training, because it's a very critical training for your career. So find outside sources ASAP which can give you this training, Right. So now coming to this point where the answer to this yes was, is marketing training required for promotion, and the answer was no, then we have led to another decision point, that is marketing training available in the company? If the answer to this particular question is yes, then it is your optional. You want to enroll, you can enroll, right? And if the answer to this is no, this means it is again, it's low priority. Now coming to this thing, that if is marketing training considered in career planning, and the answer was no to it. So what you will do is that the team would check, is marketing training required for promotion? Then there can be two answers for that, yes or no. So if the answer is yes, then they would have to ask themselves another question, that is marketing training available in the company? Answer can be yes or no. If it is required for promotion and it is available, again it is high priority. But if it is required for promotion but it is not available in the company, then again you have to look for outside training. And if the answer to this question again is low, that the first question was the marketing training is considered in career planning, the answer was no. And again the second question is marketing training required for promotion, again the answer is no. Then you will have to ask yourself, you have to take yourself to the third decision point, and if the answer is yes, that it is available, then just think that it's an optional training. If you just want to acquire certain additional skills, you can enroll, and if the answer to it is no, then it means it is low priority. You don't need to focus on it, right? So now what you can see with this process is that how this decision, that should they enroll or not, has been just looked up from the various factors. So this gives you very pictorial representation of the complete process. You know about all the possible alternatives and their outcomes. So this helps you to take a better decision, right? Now that you have a basic understanding of the concept of decision analysis, and we have already covered one tool, that is decision process flow chart. So let's move forward and check the second tool, that is decision tree diagram, which is also known as decision flow analysis, right? So if you just have an overview of a decision process flow chart and decision tree diagram, you will find them quite similar, not exactly identical but quite similar. The difference is that decision process flow chart is more of a logical way towards reaching your decisions, whereas decision tree diagram is a little more elaborate, as it just includes all the expected values of each alternative and their chance occurrences, that is their probabilities, plus a method known as folding back, using which we reach the final decision which is the best suitable for the team. Right. So continuing with decision tree diagram, with help of decision tree diagram, team can display the outcomes or expected values of several possible alternatives and the likelihood of their occurrence. And this occurrence is described, or you can say, we can just mention it as percentage or probability. That is, what is the probability, percentage probability of their occurrence, and it's usually written between 0.00 to 1. So the probability would be between 0.0 to 1, right? It cannot be less than that, it can't be, and it cannot be more than 1. So when we talk about this, so okay, I just show you the just basic picture of how decision tree looks like. So basically it's here. Here we just mention whatever our decision is, and then we just branch out. These are the chance nodes and these are the alternative possible alternatives, and here we mention the expected value of each alternative. So this is how a decision tree looks like. So if we have to see where it is applied to analyze various possible alternatives in a decision making situation, right? So we can analyze all the alternatives, whatever are there for that particular decision, to assess the decision making process. Obviously it's a decision making tool, and to decide course of action by considering outcomes and probabilities in the analysis. right? So we just mention all the outcomes plus their chance occurrences. This tool provides balanced picture of the risks and rewards associated with each possible source of action. That is, whenever we are mentioning all these outcomes, we also mention their chances of success, their failure, or whatever expected values we can just expect from all those decisions or the alternative branches. And here I am going to mention about the associated tools that as I just did it in decision process flow chart. So it is before and after. So I will just read them out because they are almost similar to what we did in decision process flow chart. And these are: before tools are consensus decision making, it is an influence diagram, activity analysis, and after tools are action plan, opportunity analysis, potential problem analysis, and what if analysis. So basically, if I have to just sum it up in one line, so basically decision tree diagram is a way to just represent the complete decision making process, and that so that team can just see and rationally analyze all the possible alternatives and choose the best one, right. So it can be used in many fields, such as in capacity planning. Decision making decision tree diagram is a major tool of capacity planning. It is used in research, in manufacturing, engineering, in administration, customer care, customer support. So there are many fields in which we can use this tool. Let us look at the symbols used in the decision tree. The first one is the square. So this square represents the choice or the decision which we have to make or we have to take. And then you can see these two branches coming out of this square. So these are the branches of alternatives, that is whatever alternatives we have, we have to choose from. And then this circle is used to represent chance even node. That is, whenever we take an action, chance plays its role, and that is represented using this circle in the decision tree diagram. And then this symbol is used to show the clipped branch. Now clipped branch is the decision or the alternative which we do not find any beneficial to us. So we are just going to clip it, and this is shown by this symbol. And then this is dollar, that is outcome or utility. This is the final outcome which we are going to just consider whenever we have to take any decision. This is EV, that is expected monetary or future value. This is basically a projected value of future for any particular decision. And this P is the probability, that is the percentage occurrence of any alternative, right. And this is usually given between 0.00 to 1. And then we have backward induction, also known as folding back. So basically it is a backward calculation of expected value to take a required decision. And now coming to the creating a decision tree, how to create a decision tree. For that we would first need certain information so that we can formulate a decision of the problem. So you need to define the problem or get the problem statement. So basically first you need to understand that what is the problem. Once you figure out the problem, only then you can find out what are the various alternatives for that. Then the second thing you need is all the possible alternatives, that is whatever choices you have. And then you have to consider the probability. You need certain information of the probability, that is percentage chance for each particular alternative or branch. So this basically this probability and the projected utility. So you need to have information of the projected utility, that is basically the future value of any particular decision or alternative which you take, right. So both these probabilities and the projected utility we can get this information either from the subject matter experts, right, or we can use certain data if it is available to us, or historical data, or we can go ahead with surveys or sampling methods. So basically these are a kind of educated guesses which you take, right. And after you have this information, so you will place all these values on a decision tree. How? Okay, for example, now I just take a simple example, that is whether I should go ahead and market my project, right. So I will represent it using a square as I told you. So basically this is the decision I have to take: market product. So from this decision, my branches will, I'll just branch out, and here since it's a simple decision, so answer would be either in yes or no, right. So I will branch out, and this says yes, I should mark it, and this branch says no. So just talking about this no thing first, if I say no, then this means chance is not going to take its place because I am not doing anything. So the expected future value here would be 0. So here I am presuming, or I am assuming that I have not invested anything in this product, nothing has happened, I have lost nothing, I have gained nothing. Only then I can say it's $0. Otherwise it would be in a loss if I just invest something, because that would be wasted if I don't go ahead with marketing. So for now we just forget that and we just assume that nothing has been invested, right. So now if I just go ahead with this branch, that is yes, that I should go ahead and market my product, right. So what will happen? Chance will play its role. So now when chance will play its role, so if I have to simply tell you either my product would be successful, it would be a successful launch, or it would be unsuccessful, right. So two things can happen. So either it would be successful or not successful. So when I say successful or not successful, so my marketing manager tells me that if I am successful and this launch is successful, so my expected value would be $100,000. And he also tells me that in case this product sinks, then I would be losing $20,000 and it would be in minus because that's my loss. So here now I am also going to place the probability, that is what are the chances of success and no success, right. So I am just giving any value, for example X percentage probability that it would be successful and Y percentage probability that it's not going to be successful. So now if you can see, this is a very simple diagram. Here my decisions are very simple, it's not complicated at all, but what you can see is that it gives me a complete pictorial view with all the information required. So basically the project managers should just keep on branching out from these chance nodes until and unless they are satisfied that all their alternatives have been placed and they have just whatever they need for taking a good decision should be placed over here, right. So then my third step would be folding it back. That is, I would just go in for backward induction and then I would just think that which is a success. Then after folding back, I would get certain amount, that is this dollar on this chance node. Okay. So based on this amount, I would see which branch I should go ahead with and which one I should clip. So here since it's 0 and this value would be something, so I am going to clip this branch as this is not a good decision to take, right. So what you can see is that it's a very logical way, it's a very detailed way, it's a very precise way of taking decisions. So before I go ahead and give you a detailed example of how to carry on with all the calculation and reach the utility of each branch, so there are few terms which I would want you to know because they are important. The first one is payoff table, also known as payoff matrix. So this is the table which contains all possible payoffs we would receive if we took any action and certain chance occurrences followed, right. So it would look something like this. This is a payoff table where we just have this problem statement, new product introduction. So in this payoff table, what you would see is that I have just only mentioned the expected values. Here the probability is missing, right. So that I will show you next. So basically payoff table looks something like this, that is the action we take, what are the like expected values or what are the alternatives that it can be successful, it can be not successful. So this is how payoff table looks like. So basically it's very useful when we have range of possible outcomes and possible responses. So this is very basic one. Here there are only two conditions, but in real life cases or projects, the things are not that black and white, right. So there are a number of probabilities which we are just going to discuss. So this is very simple, but in case we have lot of probabilities, lot of alternatives, so this tool is very helpful than creating a payoff table, right. Then it lists all pros and cons of a decision. Obviously when you know what is the expected value, what is the probability, so what you find out is all the pros and cons of a decision. and another term is a decision, that is what we do. I have already discussed in decision analysis. And then it's the state of nature. So this is what takes place whenever we take an action, state of nature plays its part. So this is an outcome on which a decision maker has a little or no control, right. So coming back to my example where I just will show you how to calculate everything. So again my problem statement is the same. I am going to use the same problem statement and solve it in two parts. The first one is very simple one, and then we will just complicate it a bit. So the problem statement is new product introduction, right? And the payoff table for this is, for the initial stages, is that action and whether the product is. So the action is either to market the product or not to market the product, and then when we take an action, then we have something which are alternative branches which come out, and these are either product would be successful or not successful. So as I have already told you that my product manager tells me that if I am successful, my expected value is something like $100,000, and if I am not successful, then I would have to face a loss of $20,000. And if I am not doing anything, so I am assuming that nothing is invested, nothing has been done, so it is basically zero. Now for this simple problems, for this thing we have to draw a decision tree. So what it would look like, you already know, I have already made it, so I will just make it quickly. So basically this is our decision, new product introduction, right. Then I have branches coming out. So this is yes, this is no, and their chance plays its role, so it can be successful. So this chance is only what we call state of nature, and this is unsuccessful. And then we will just put their expected values. Here it's 0, so we just forget it for now. And then here it is $100,000. In case it's successful, in case it's not, then it's loss of $20,000, right. So basically now this is your decision tree out of this payoff matrix. So this is very basic one, but exactly it's not helping me much, right. It's a logical way of how the things will look like, but now what I'm supposed to do with this, it's not helping me out. So we need to add further information. So here we have to bring up probabilities, that is we have to add probabilities to this state of nature. That is how much is the probability of being successful and what is the probability of not being successful. So my project manager tells me that the probability of being successful is 0.75. So here I can also write it like this. I can add another line that says Px, that is probability, and again, right. So he says that the chances of success are 0.75. So basically we know that the probability can be between 0.00 to 1. So now what are my chances of not being successful? So that would be 1 minus 0.75, and that would be 0.25. So my probability of being successful is 0.75 and my probability of not being successful is 0.25. So what I am going to do is I am going to mention it on my tree. So this is the probability of being successful and this is the probability of not being successful, right. So here I am not doing anything, so there are no probabilities, nothing. So now I have to carry on with my backward induction. Now how to do it? Now I have to find out the utility of each alternative. And how I am going to do that? I am going to use the same formula which is used to find out the expected value of a random variable. And what is that formula? That formula is Ex, that is the expected value of random variable, is summation of all x and Px. Here x is my this thing, that is $100,000 and $20,000, and Px is my probability, right. So if I have to just calculate this, so what I would do is, so Ex would be, I will just put on all these values and it would come like plus, so this is in negative because it was a loss, So if I just calculate it, it would be around $70,000. Right. So now I am going to place, now this is my utility. This is my utility of taking this action, and I am going to place this utility over my chance node. So I am going to put it around here. Right. So basically I have done, what I have done is I have just folded back, I have just come from the expected value, that is from future towards present. So now this is the utility of this branch, and the utility of this branch is what? 0, because we have done nothing. So when we compare these two values, so which one is greater? So obviously you know this one is greater. So what we are going to do? We will clip this branch. So this is how we clip it. So this means we are just going, obviously 70,000 is more, in case it's successful or not successful, I am going to earn something. So I am just going to choose this branch, that is I would go ahead with decision of marketing this thing, right. I am not going to choose this one, so I am going to clip this branch. So now I would be taking the same example but with extended market possibilities. So this is my effort to complicate it a bit, right. So now when I have extended market possibilities, so my new product introduction would, the payoff table for this would look something like this. So it's the outcome, payoff and probabilities. So in case my product is extremely successful, so my payoff would be around 1,50,000 and the probability of this happening is 0.1. In case it's just very successful, then I would be, my payoff would be 1,20,000 and the probability of this happening is 0.2. And if it's successful, then the payoff would be 1 lakh and the probability of this happening is 0.3. Somewhat successful, payoff is 80,000, probability 0.1. Barely successful, probability the payoff is 40,000 and the probability 0.1. So break even, that is no success, no loss, it would be 0. Unsuccessful, minus 20,000 would be the payoff and the probability is 0.05, and it is a disaster, it sunk completely, then the payoff would be minus 50,000 and the probability is 0.05. Now if you have to make a decision tree, so it would look something same as we did earlier, but it's just a bit complicated. So it's like this. This is my square, that is launching new product. Now I have two decisions which I can take, whether I can go ahead or I can just drop it, right. So this case is no and this is yes. So here when I say my optimal decision is yes, so here the chance will play its role. I will have to make a chance node, and now I have to just place all the possibilities which are there, right. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So basically there are 8 possibilities or possible alternatives. Right. So this would be my expected value for them, and here it would be nothing, 0. Right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the expected payoff for each of them and their probability. So it would be 1,50,000. I am not writing dollars, it's understandable. So 20,000. 100,000, 80,000, and then it is 40,000, it's 0, minus 20,000 and minus 50,000. Right. So now what I am going to do is I am going to write down the probabilities of each, that is 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.1, 0.1, again this is 0 and this is 0.5 and it's again 0.05. So here if you want you can also mention that it's very successful, extremely successful, very successful, successful, somewhat successful, barely successful, break even, unsuccessful and disastrous, right? So this is how my decision tree would look like. Now again I have to do the same thing. I have to calculate by folding back, I have to calculate the utility at this chance node. So now you know the drill, the formula would remain the same, that is Ex is equal to summation of, and when I add these values, which you can do yourselves because otherwise this lecture would go on forever. So I am just going to add, just tell you that after adding all these values or placing all these values, so the final answer is 77,500. So this is the utility of this node. So I would write it over here, that is 77,500, and this again is 0. So now my chances of being successful and earning is this much over this branch and it's 0 over here. So obviously I would just clip this branch and I would go ahead with this branch, and whenever we go ahead with any branch we just mark it with an arrow like this, right? So this is the branch I am going to choose. Now here I would like to add one more thing, that sometimes you can see, you can just get the problems where now this branch can lead to another decision point, and it would again have its chance node further on. So the process, the drill, the formula would remain the same. You would again fold back and then come to the chance node, and then you will see whether you have to go ahead with this decision particular branch or not. The process would remain the same. The only thing is that once you get all these, they get a little bit complicated, but the process remains the same. Now you can see that decision tree is a very good tool when you have to come to a precise and a definite way of reaching to certain decision, because you know, and especially when you have to just go ahead with capacity planning or monetary terms are just involved. So this is a very good tool. But sometimes there is a need for additional information, that is decision maker wants to have certain additional information for his process. So that can be achieved using Bayes theorem, that is using continuous probabilities, that I would take up in some other lecture.